It all kicks off with our MC locked in chains, staring down a massive beast, and remembering some cheesy old quote about people daring to dream. He figures people loved saying that stuff way before humanity's worst nightmares became a literal everyday thing. Then, he catches his own beat, up reflection on the side of a thermos. Our guy grips the cup tight, just soaking in the vibe of finally having a cup of actual, real coffee. He's chilling on a bench in the freezing city, thinking about how this brew is way better than the cheap, synthetic sludge he used to drink back in the slums. Doing the math, the MC realizes this taste better be worth it, since this one cup literally cost him every single penny he had to his name. So, he takes a slow sip, totally accepting that his run in this world is about to hit the game over screen. But plot twist, he spits it out the exact second the hot liquid hits his tongue. Wiping his mouth in pure frustration, he complains the coffee is way too bitter. He instantly regrets not spending his last coins on a nice piece of steak instead. Still, looking around at the freezing weather and people walking by in masks, he admits the awful taste will at least do its job and keep him awake. With that, he just ditches the half-full cup right there on the bench. After that, our guy struggles to get up on his feet. He shuffles over to a nearby trash can and bends down to pick up some crumpled paper some random person dropped on the ground. Showing one last ounce of good manners before his grand exit, he tosses the trash into the bin. Right after, he goes back to wandering the freezing streets, dragging his feet and looking like he's running on 0% battery, bumping into people on the sidewalk. He mutters about getting completely scammed by that coffee, since he's still feeling incredibly sleepy. The MC stumbles through the crowd, acting like his own hype man, repeating that he just needs to hold on and keep his eyes open until he makes it to the police station. Barely holding it together, he finally makes it to the entrance of this massive security complex. For context, this is precinct number 7, located right at the main base of the Northern Quadrant's capital. Our boy steps into the giant lobby, which is packed with officers typing away at their computers. One of the cops notices him just standing there, like a glitch in the Matrix, and stops what he's doing. The officer asks if he's lost, but the MC just stares back at him with this super heavy, awkward silence. Gathering whatever energy he has left, the kid announces he's there to turn himself in, straight up claiming to be carrying the nightmare spell. The cop's eyes go wide, he jumps out of his chair, completely shook by what he just heard. Instantly, a red siren starts blasting from the ceiling, and the PA system announces a maximum-level emergency code across the lobby. The MC just drops his head and closes his eyes, totally aware that his fate is pretty much sealed now that the curse has marked him. Time for a quick lore drop. This whole phenomenon popped up decades ago, right when the planet was trying to bounce back from insane natural disasters and turf wars. At first, everyone thought it was just some bug making people super tired all the time. But as time went on, they figured out it wasn't some random virus. It was actually a mysterious spell acting like a straight-up magical curse. The craziest part, anyone who actually fell asleep and failed the inner tests ended up mutating into absolute nightmare monsters in the process. These freaky creatures would then go on an absolute rampage, hunting down and taking out humans without thinking twice. Trying to do damage control, whole armies rolled their tanks and heavy artillery out into the streets. But surprise, surprise, the regular military got absolutely stomped by the absurd power level of these beasts. Before anyone knew what hit them, the entire world got swallowed by absolute chaos and bad vibes. But just when things looked like game over, a miracle happened. Some of the victims who went into a deep sleep actually started waking up. These guys opened their eyes, proving they had totally survived the first major trial. The doctors were mind blown when they realized these survivors weren't just your average Joes anymore. They were now officially awakened. They came back packing some insane magical powers, which were basically loot drops for surviving the dangers inside the dream realm. Flexing these flashy new skills, the awakened managed to push the monsters back and actually restore a little bit of order on Earth. Fast forward a few years, and these warriors became humanity's ultimate hope, basically building a whole new society where power is everything. To future-proof the next generation, schools started teaching survival tactics in hand-to-hand combat to kids right away, getting them ready for the very real chance of getting infected. The ridiculously wealthy families started dropping insane amounts of cash to get their kids into elite training camps way before their awakening even happened. On top of that, the rich kids from these top Tier bloodlines entered the dream realm, already equipped with magical relics and memories passed down from their ancestors, which was basically playing the survival challenge on easy mode. Cutting back to the present, our MC is pretty bummed because all that fancy prep work means absolutely nothing for a broke kid who grew up in the alleyways of the slums. He stares at his own shaking hands, completely convinced that getting tagged by this spell is pretty much a one-way ticket to being deleted from the server. Meanwhile, the sun keeps shining over the freezing capital of the northern quadrant, totally ignoring the kid's massive panic attack. Inside precinct number 7, they rush the guy into this super restricted, isolated room called the emergency containment vault. In there, bathed in the blue glow of a bunch of monitors, an older cop sits across from him and hits him with the classic, "What's your name?" The kid answers that his real name is Sunless, but people usually just call him Sunny for short. The cop clearly thinks the name is kind of bizarre, so Sunny explains he was born during a solar eclipse, and that his mom was just super poetic like that. The cop asks if there's any family they should ping about the situation, but Sunny shuts that down fast, saying there's nobody left, and it's not worth the hassle. Getting serious, the veteran officer asks how much longer the kid thinks he can stay awake. Sunny just shakes his head, admitting he doesn't have much time left on the clock. Picking up on the urgency, the cop tells him to drop the small talk and lock in, asking what the kid actually knows about this curse. Sunny drops the basics, explaining he just has to go into the dream realm and take down whatever monsters spawn in his way. He knows he's got to fight and clear these threats to finish the quests for the first trial, and if he manages to pull it off, he'll finally unlock magic powers and become an official awakened warrior. The officer nods, seeing the kid gets the theory, but tells him to pay super close attention to a pro tip about the place. The guy explains that, yeah, Sunny will run into monsters during the challenge, but drops a heavy warning, he's also going to run into people, and absolutely none of them are real. Sunny asks how he can be so sure about that, and the cop reveals that the whole thing is just one massive, high-level illusion, totally coded by the spell just to test him. Then the officer hits him with the harsh reality check. The kid might actually have to take out these fake people to level up, so he better just treat them like empty non-playable characters for his own sanity. Barely keeping his eyes open, Sunny nods along, while the cop tells him the very first thing he needs to do when he loads in is check his stats and skills. The older guy explains that if Sunny gets lucky with the random number generator and rolls a combat class, like a swordsman or an archer, his life is going to be a million times easier. But he warns that even if Sunny gets a skill that's total garbage for fighting, he shouldn't panic. Basically, there are no trash abilities if you're smart enough to exploit them. Pointing a finger, the officer promises that the spell is designed to test you, not to instantly wipe you out. The kid just needs to use his brain and do whatever it takes to stay in the game. Sunny listens closely while the veteran explains that his choices during the trial will totally define what kind of loot drops he gets at the end. But then the vibe gets super dark. The cop warns him that if Sunny gets taken out in the dream world, his real world body basically turns into an instant spawn point for a monster. He adds that if that happens right here, his coworkers are going to have to deal with a boss fight right in the middle of the lobby. Looking the kid dead in the eyes, the cop makes a super genuine request: please, do not lose this fight. Trying to cut the heavy tension, the guy jokes that if Sunny is going to fail, he should at least take a few hours doing it. It'd take a while for a high-level warrior to get there, and the cops really don't want to solo the beast themselves. Sunny is completely thrown off by the random joke in the middle of this stressful situation. He stammers out a response just as the room literally starts dissolving around him. Right then, Sunny's consciousness gets yanked into this massive cosmic void, and a distant voice echoes out, officially welcoming him to the nightmare spell. When our guy finally opens his eyes, he realizes he just traveled to the top of a freezing mountain right in the middle of a blizzard. He looks up at the sky and is completely tripped out to see the moon moving at hyper speed through the dark clouds. Fascinated and feeling a little dizzy, Sunny tilts his head back, feeling the snow fall as he tries to wrap his head around the crazy physics of this mystical place. Taking a closer look at the slick mountainside, he spots something completely glitching out in nature. His eyes go wide in pure shock. He sees water drops actually floating upward from the ground, realizing that time in this wild place is literally running in reverse. Sunny stares in disbelief at the insane amount of bones scattered all over the snowy ground, wondering what kind of cursed map he just spawned into. He looks down at the skeleton of some fallen warrior, wondering if an epic raid or battle went down here. But then he notices the bony wrists are locked up in heavy chains, quickly realizing this wasn't a battle. It was an absolute massacre. Suddenly, he freezes in his tracks as the whole environment around him starts glowing insanely bright. His eyes bug out the second he realizes reality itself is shifting right in front of him. A floating system text tells him to gear up for his first trial, and our boy nearly has a heart attack when he looks down and sees his own hands are actually locked in chains now. Wearing absolutely nothing but rags in this freezing weather, Sunny stares at the heavy iron shackles on his wrists and ankles, completely speechless. Still trying to process what's happening, he realizes he's stuck in the middle of a massive line of prisoners, being escorted by heavily armored guards on horseback. He quickly remembers that people who load into this test usually get assigned cool roles like warriors or some kind of privileged luxury class. Super salty about his luck, he wonders why he got dragged into this as a literal bottom-tier servant with zero powers. As the march forces its way up the freezing mountain, Sunny curses his terrible luck, admitting he basically rolled the absolute worst starting stats possible. Out of nowhere, glowing floating text starts popping up right in his field of vision. He stares at the glowing symbols, realizing he has never seen this bizarre, alien alphabet in his entire life. Surprisingly though, his brain auto-translates it perfectly. He checks his player status, which labels him an asleep aspirant, along with a pretty interesting list of 3 main attributes. Trying to stay positive, he remembers that the spell usually balances things out, so he figures he must have gotten some incredibly overpowered class or skill to make up for this terrible spawn point. But after reading his bio, which literally confirms his rank is the lowest possible tier with absolutely zero useful skills, Sunny is fuming. He immediately calls out that cop for lying about there being no bad powers. He then clicks on his first magic trait, finding out he's got the Threads of Fate. Basically, this passive skill is a magnet for both insanely good luck and absolutely terrible disasters on a regular basis. Too busy reading his display, the kid ends up tripping in the snow and crashes face first into the back of the prisoner walking right in front of him. The giant dude spins around, absolutely raging. He starts threatening Sunny, asking if the punk wants to start some beef right then and there. But before things escalate, a super chill prisoner walking next to them steps in, telling the raging guy to just let the kid's mistake slide. The chill guy points out that our scrawny MC probably won't even survive until sunrise anyway. Plus, he suspects the nightmare system will probably spawn a mob of monsters to wipe them all out way before then. The raging guy snaps back, pointing out that none of them might survive this brutal freezing weather, but makes it crystal clear he is absolutely determined to make it out in one piece. Totally unfazed, the chill guy uses some heavy sarcasm about the weather and gives the angry dude a very serious warning: do not mess with that kid. Confused, the Hothid asks what his deal is. His fellow prisoner points out that the big guy clearly totally missed the weird glowing tattoos on the kid's skin. Sunny's status screen pops up, showing an attribute called the Mark of Divinity. The chill prisoner explains that the kid was literally born to be a dedicated servant of the sacred temples. While Sunny is fighting for his life just trying to breathe, the big guy couldn't care less about the lore drop. But his buddy keeps going, explaining that the Imperials completely wrecked the last temple recently, which is exactly how this kid ended up in chains with them. The wise prisoner then drops a serious reality check, asking the big guy if he really wants to risk ticking off some higher-level entity by bullying their protected kid. Right on cue, a fully armored guard on a horse trots over to the group, asking if there's a problem. The chill prisoner covers for them smoothly, saying they're all just exhausted. The guy makes up an excuse, saying he was just worried about the kid handling this brutal hike. Hearing that, the guard stares straight down at Sunny from his high horse. In a total shocker, the young guard actually acts super friendly. He tells the kid to hang in there just a bit longer, promising they'd set up camp as soon as the sun goes down. Sunny gives him some serious side eye. He's low-key annoyed, thinking to himself that he's almost 17, and this guard doesn't even look that much older than him to be calling him a kid. Taking the nice guy act even further, The young soldier leans down and offers a leather water flask to our completely drained MC. Sunny just hits him with complete silence for a second, staring up at the guy on the horse. He grabs the flask with hands that are literally shaking from the weight of his chains, wondering if this soldier actually thinks offering him some water suddenly makes him the hero of the story. But right before he can take a sip, the sharp crack of a whip slices through the air out of nowhere. The strike nails the young soldier right in the face, blasting him violently off his horse and straight into the snow. The jump scare makes Sunny drop the flask, and all that highly anticipated water just spills uselessly into the dirt. A grumpy, older commander rides up, screaming at the young guard for what he did. The kid scrambles to explain himself while wiping the blood off his face from the nasty fall. The ruthless commander tells the rookie to shut his mouth instantly. He makes it crystal clear that these prisoners aren't their friends, and they definitely shouldn't be treated like actual humans. Glaring down like a total villain, the leader threatens the rookie. He warns that if he catches him acting buddy with them again, the kid is going to face some brutal physical consequences himself. The miserable march pushes forward across the rough terrain. Meanwhile, Sunny makes a silent promise to himself that before he leaves this server, he is absolutely getting his revenge. Staring daggers at the broad back of that arrogant commander, our MC vows with everything he has that this cruel boss is going to be the very first one taken off the board. Then, he smoothly shifts his intense gaze over to the rookie guard who tried to give him water just a few minutes ago. With a super dark, calculated look in his eyes, Sunny mentally writes that empathetic young guard down as number 2 on his hit list. Time slowly drags on until the sun finally starts dipping behind the snowy peaks, painting the sky with these epic shades of orange and purple. The arrogant commander throws a closed fist up in the air, giving the signal for the entire squad to stop moving. Using his best drill sergeant voice, he calls off the march, announcing that they're setting up camp right there for the night. Pretty soon, the guards get massive bonfires roaring to push back the pitch, black darkness creeping into the Rocky Mountain ruins. The armored guards all huddle up around the cozy fire to chat, and finally thaw out from that brutally freezing hike. Sitting way off to the side, Sunny is shown nibbling on this pathetic, tiny piece of dry ration, just desperately trying to get a single bar of stamina back. Next to him, the prisoners are all huddled together on the freezing ground, basically trash, talking the Imperial guards for treating them like absolute garbage. The raging guy from earlier is loudly chewing and complaining that even the prison food was way better than this. He points out that most of them are probably going to get wiped out soon anyway. Sunny just watches the dude absolutely inhaling his food while throwing a tantrum. He finds it hilarious that the guy is complaining non-stop but still licking his plate clean, like it's a 5-star meal. Since they're all literally chained together on the same heavy line, our boy realizes trying to pull a stealth escape mission is a 0% chance. He decides it's best to just keep a safe distance from the noisy guys. He takes a deep breath and cracks his neck, actually enjoying how ridiculously fresh the air is up here. Something you'd literally never find back in his crowded, smoggy hometown. Looking up at the insane starry sky and taking in the quiet mountain vibe, he admits getting drafted into this test has a few tiny perks. He decides to use the downtime to double-check his neglected skill tree. He pulls up the glowing magical display in front of him, wanting to get a better rid on that last mysterious perk called Child of Shadows. Sunny stares at the text, super intrigued. The description is pretty vague, basically just saying that the shadows of this world recognize him as one of the homies. He turns his head, trying to figure out how that actually helps him in real life, when he notices a massive upgrade to his vision. The kid is totally mind-blown, realizing his night vision is fully unlocked, letting him see perfectly in the pitch-black darkness. He does a massive internal victory lap for finally finding a skill that isn't completely useless. Sunny's hype gets instantly killed when the chill prisoner hands a weird, red wild berry over to his angry buddy, giving him a super strict warning absolutely not to eat it. The hungry giant tries to brush off the warnings, complaining that his stamina bar is literally blinking red, but his buddy patiently explains that those specific berries only spawn in spots where a massive amount of people have been wiped out. The wise guy finishes his lore drop with a heavy warning the plant is incredibly toxic, and taking just a few tiny bites would be enough to instantly crash the server for a huge dude like him. Spooked by the instant game Overwarning and not wanting to risk his one life, the big guy curses in frustration and throws the berry as far away as humanly possible. The little red berry bounces across the rough stones and stops right at Sunny's feet, making his brain run at maximum capacity as he processes that whole detail about ancient battlefields. Looking around the quiet camp and the prisoners trying to get some sleep, a huge wave of panic hits him. He suddenly realizes he totally recognizes this depressing layout. Sunny's eyes go completely wide with pure dread the exact second his memory connects the dots, and it all suddenly makes terrifying sense. He gets a flashback to the skeletons wearing these exact same Imperial armors buried in the snow right when he spawned into the mountain, right before time hit the rewind button. But the worst part, he specifically remembers seeing those bony skeleton hands locked up in the exact same heavy chains he's wearing right now. Going totally pale, our boy reaches a terrifying conclusion. His absolute worst nightmare scenario about this place has been 100% accurate all along. Before anyone even has a split second to react, a brutal, silent strike launches out of the pitch black darkness, splashing red across the air and wiping out part of the camp in the blink of an eye. Completely paralyzed with fear, with zero time to even think as pure chaos takes over, Sunny finally grasps just how cursed his fate really is. Right in front of his face, the rookie guard, who actually tried to help him, gets totally blindsided by this massive, monstrous creature, getting instantly deleted from the server by the beast's insane raw power. Sunny instinctively hits the deck, curling up on the freezing ground and physically shaking from the deafening, chaotic roar of the ambush. Through all the panic, the kid's upgraded night vision picks up every single detail in the dark. He completely understands now why this chill safe zone was always destined to become a literal boss room massacre. The arrogant commander instantly draws his sword, getting into a combat stance as total chaos rips through the campsite. He unleashes a massive heavy attack that sends debris flying everywhere, totally flexing his high-level stats in the middle of the dark. When the dust finally settles, it just reveals an empty, snowy patch of rocks. The monster is totally gone. Two heavy guards look around completely lost, wondering what on earth is actually happening right now. Suddenly, one of the guards yells out to the boss, pointing out that something huge is lurking on top of the cliff. In a flash, this massive, hyper-speed creature drops down from the mountain, plowing straight through the soldiers and completely ignoring their screams for backup. Not wasting a second, the commander screams at his squad to get on their feet and get ready for a real boss fight. He plants his boots firmly in the snow, gripping his sword tightly as he tries to scan the dark for the aggroed beast. The boss is sweating bullets, admitting to himself that he had absolutely no idea this specific map could spawn high-level beasts like this one. A second later, he grinds his teeth in pure rage, realizing the mysterious monster has completely vanished from his line of sight again. Trying to hold the squad together, the commander barks orders to stay on high alert, warning that the next strike could drop at any second. Just then, a guard tries to warn him that something is creeping up right behind him. But before the guy can even finish his sentence, these terrifying, gigantic claws shoot out of the shadows and snatch the commander straight by the face. The guards watch in absolute horror as their high-level leader gets lifted into the air effortlessly like a literal ragdoll. Watching from a distance, the raging prisoner starts hyperventilating, screaming to know what the heck is attacking them. The chill guy, now sounding pretty stressed, says it's way too dark to see a thing. Right on cue, this terrifying, giant glowing eye just materializes in the pitch black darkness, looking like straight-up nightmare fuel. Showing absolutely zero mercy, the beast one-shots the arrogant commander with a single, brutal strike. The massive creature towers over the snow, while the chained prisoners in the background are literally shaking, crying about how completely broken and unfair this situation is. The chill guy and the Hothead are glued to the spot, completely frozen in fear as the absolute disaster unfolds right in front of their eyes. With the squad leader out of the picture, the giant beast immediately locks onto the line of chained prisoners, who start screaming their lungs out for backup. The creature's face finally steps into the light, revealing this insane cluster of glowing eyes and razor-sharp teeth, totally focused on its new targets. The beast swings a heavy, lightning-fast swipe with its giant claws straight at the group. The heavy attack totally connects with the chill prisoner, instantly dropping the guy hard into the dirt. Seeing this horrifying scene play out up close, Sunny drops a major curse word, realizing the raid has completely failed and things are out of control. The monster lands with a massive thud right in the middle of the snowy camp, already scanning the chain guys for its next snack. Going into full panic mode, the big angry guy tries to sprint away through the deep snow as fast as humanly possible. But there's a catch: his wild sprint violently yanks on the heavy iron chain that physically ties all of them together. The massive jerk throws Sunny totally off balance. He slams back first onto the hard rocks, mentally cursing out the absolute dead weight of this giant idiot. The giant dude also completely wipes out on the rocks, screaming like a maniac for everybody to get out of his way. Sunny lets out a sharp yell of pain as he gets mercilessly dragged across the freezing mountain rocks like a sled. Completely ignoring logic, the panicked giant just keeps crawling, dragging both Sunny and the knocked out body of the chill guy right along with him on the chain. Still getting dragged across the dirt, Sunny glances over at the chill prisoner sliding next to him, genuinely shocked, wondering if the dude actually just got eliminated. Processing the absolute chaos around him, our boy tries to stay cold-blooded. He figures things are incredibly bad, but at least the boss decided to lock onto some other targets for now. Over in the distance, the beast is just casually wiping out the prisoners trying to run away in a massive pack. Sunny watches from the ground, confirming that running away like a disorganized mob is completely brain-dead behavior. He applies some basic logic to it. Even if they somehow manage to break the monster's line of sight, they'd all definitely freeze out in the open without a campfire anyway. But the panicked giant yells back, admitting that yeah, running is crazy dangerous, but crying that he'd way rather freeze out here than become midnight takeout for some freaky monster. Going full hysterical mode, the huge guy yanks on the chains again, demanding Sunny get up and help him find a decent camping spot to hide in. But out of absolutely nowhere, the chain gets stuck hard, violently yanking both of them backward. Sunny groans, feeling the brutal kickback of the heavy iron cuffs slamming into his skinny wrists. The big raging idiot yells at Sunny, demanding to know why he stopped moving. Sunny snaps right back, telling him to chill out, because they're literally anchored to the dead weight of the chill guy who got taken out. They both look back in horror at the exact moment the chill guy's body starts twitching on the ground in a super unnatural way. Hearing the guy's bones snapping in a bizarre rhythm, Sunny violently kicks himself mentally for being stupid enough to think things couldn't possibly get any worse. Our boy's eyes just pop open. He's completely frozen in shock, watching this horrifying nightmare transformation happen front row center. The fallen guy's body undergoes a massive, disgusting mutation, turning into a freaky little monster packed with pitch black eyes. Sunny instantly gets it. This is just the phase 1 spawn form of the creature. He's low-key panicking, wondering how an endgame level boss ended up in the very first tutorial stage. He clenches his jaw in pure rage, realizing his random events magnet skill is actually just an insanely broken and cursed problem. With zero time to cry about his terrible luck, Sunny screams at the big guy, saying they absolutely have to wipe out this little freak right now, before its mutation finishes, and it takes both of them down. The giant dude is just stuttering, locked in complete panic mode, having absolutely zero clue how to process this ridiculous scene. Stepping up as the shot caller, Sunny tells the big guy to get ready to pull his side of the chains with everything he's got on his signal. He plans to basically lasso the heavy chain right around the little monster. Timing it perfectly, the kid smoothly loops the heavy iron chain right around the newly mutated creep and screams out the command to pull. The giant actually listens, yanking his end with pure brute force. The iron chain tightens super hard around the beast's neck, pinning it completely to the snowy ground, putting his entire body weight onto the opposite side. Sunny pulls with every single ounce of strength he has, screaming in rage for this disgusting little gremlin to just get deleted. The creature thrashes around violently on the ground as the insane pressure from the chains chokes it out with zero mercy. Taking massive choke damage, the little beast's eyes finally start fluttering shut, its body going completely limp. Just like that, a glowing system prompt pops up, letting our guy know he actually managed to secure a takedown on an asleep beast larva. Gasping for air, Sunny processes the enemy's name on the screen, while the giant dude breathes super heavy beside him, completely mind-blown that they actually pulled that off. The big guy collapses into the snow, celebrating like crazy. He starts yelling that they actually just clutched a win against that disgusting freak. But Sunny just hugs his knees, totally drained. He's already doing the math in his head, figuring he's got exactly 3 seconds of cooldown time before the next massive disaster strikes. Doing a complete 180, the giant dude asks the kid what their next move is, fully admitting the skinny teenager is way smarter than he is. But before Sunny can drop any genius tactical plans, dozens of other freaky monster larvae come swarming and snarling straight for the duo. Spotting the new mob of disgusting bugs, Sunny just lets out a heavy, tired sigh. He mentally complains that this server is absolute trash and he just really wants to log out now. One of the freaky larvae flashes its razor-sharp teeth, hissing like crazy as it spearheads the rush straight at them. Snow gets kicked up everywhere as the mob relentlessly storms across the wrecked campsite. Using the high ground, one of the beasts hits a massive jump, lunging with its claws out straight for our chained up MC. Out of options, Sunny grabs a loose end of his heavy chain and readies it like a whip, basically telling the monsters to bring it on. Looking incredibly locked in, he swings the heavy iron in the air, putting literally everything he has left into his defense. But right before the ugly thing can even touch him, a blinding, sharp flash slices through the air, perfectly intercepting and deleting the beast with absolute precision. The camera pans out to show this highly agile warrior who just jumped right into the mess, slicing the little creeps in mid-air and sticking a flawless superhero landing in the snow. The big prisoner's eyes practically pop out of his head, instantly recognizing the brave dude who just saved them. Sunny looks up and stares at the back of the young guard with the ponytail. The exact same guy who tried to give him water earlier today. The rookie guard is looking insanely calm under his iron helmet, holding a picture perfect combat stance right in the face of this disgusting mob, not skipping a single beat. The warrior grips his sword and dashes full speed into the monster horde, dicing up his enemies with the kind of crazy high-speed combos you'd expect from a main character. Watching the whole show, Sunny frowns, super annoyed. He mutters that this guy is no hero. He just acts like a major show-off, desperate for some attention to impress the server. As the rookie guard casually wipes his blade clean in the messy snow, the fight seems to hit a quick pause. Sunny just stares at the back of this super skilled kid standing near the loose chains, heavily calculating what the real agenda is behind this sudden rescue mission. With his heavy armor slightly shifting, the unreadable soldier holds his ground, basically dropping a crazy tense calm over this freezing nightmare of a trial. The young soldier tosses a shiny metallic object through the air, telling our guy to catch it fast. Sunny snatches the item right out of the air, making his heavy chains clank together loudly. Getting a closer look, his jaw literally drops. It's the exact key needed to unlock his massive iron cuffs. The guard yells at the kid to save his own skin, and immediately sprints back into the chaotic boss fight without looking back. Watching the hero wannabe run off, Sunny recalls a classic street rule from back home: anyone who acts nice for absolutely zero reason is someone you need to watch like a hawk. Not wasting a single second, the kid jams the key in and pops the iron locks off his skinny wrists. The massive chunks of metal hit the snowy ground with a loud clank, totally freeing up his hands at last. He takes a huge breath and analyzes his surroundings, while the giant prisoner watches his every move from behind, staring at his newly freed, bruised hands. Sunny makes a silent vow that the payback is still coming soon. Totally desperate after seeing the key, the big guy shuffles over, holding out his shaking hands and literally begging the kid for help. The dude is practically pleading for Sunny to unlock his cuffs too. Sunny just stands there, thinking about how incredibly annoying this guy is to be around. Still, he figures cutting this loudmouth loose literally costs him 0 effort or points. Right then, an older prisoner with gray hair walks up to the duo, asking if the kid wouldn't mind breaking him out of these cuffs too. Sunny actually thinks about it, calculating that having the numbers advantage might actually be a solid buff against whatever else is hiding around this wrecked camp. Taking the hint, the older guy takes a few cautious steps forward, waiting for our MC to make his move. A second later, the big guy's chains hit the dirt too. He instantly starts celebrating, convinced some random god finally answered his prayers. But the Hothead is super antsy, demanding to know why they're still just chilling in the cold when the guards are completely distracted by the monster mob. Like, seriously close to them, the massive main boss is just tearing through anything in its path, destroying the snowy camp. The giant dude pushes hard that this is their perfect window to bolt, but Sunny shuts it down, asking where exactly they plan to go. They'd turn into literal ice cubes out there without a fire. Totally terrified of turning into one of those freaky things, the big guy gives the older prisoner a hard warning. He promises severe physical damage if the old man tries to give them any trash advice right now. With the most deadpan look ever, Sunny just casually suggests they step up a bit closer to get a better view of the boss fight. The angry giant calls him completely insane for wanting to get closer to the boss. Sunny just confidently starts walking, explaining that this specific mob won't cool down until every single person here is totally wiped out. With a really dark look in his eye, the kid reflects that he literally has zero reason to be scared. Since his life is basically a game, over waiting to happen anyway, getting stressed about it is pointless. Over on the other side, the giant beast's razor claws rip through the air like butter, absolutely shredding everything in its path. Hiding behind cover and watching this colossal monster battle the guards, the huge guy angrily demands to know what the kid's big master plan is. Now that they've got a front row seat to the chaos, the older prisoner tells the big dude to drop his voice. He mutters that the kid has to have some screws loose to be chilling so hard while that massive boss is literally chewing on people 10 feet away. Totally ignoring the background noise, Sunny coldly studies the boss's attack patterns, trying to come up with some logical strategy to clear this threat from the map once and for all. Suddenly, the kid's eyes light up in surprise. He hears the young guard aggressively taunting the giant beast, trying to pull its focus directly onto him. Seeing the warrior charge up and leap straight at the monster, Sunny silently pumps his fist. He just scored the ultimate distraction, figuring this soldier might actually have the stats to defeat the beast. Answering the taunt, the gigantic beast snaps its horrifying, multi-eyed face around, flashing its razor teeth and letting out a nightmare-level roar at its new challenger. The soldier swings with absolute fury, screaming at the creature to get off their planet as he brings his sword down in a lightning-fast heavy strike. The blade connects perfectly with the beast's thick hide, sending a massive metallic shockwave echoing all over the mountain. But the recoil blasts the warrior straight back. He curses in pure frustration, realizing the boss's armor is way too thick to actually cut through. The warrior's eyes pop open in absolute panic as he sees an insane counter-attack charging up right in his face. With 0 frames to dodge, the soldier eats a brutal hit from the colossal boss and gets launched across the map, screaming in pain. Even after taking that massive damage, the young warrior gets right back up, jumping back into a chaotic combo exchange with the creature right in the firelit snow. Watching the brawl from a safe distance, the older guy admits the guard has some serious skills, but warns that keeping up that hyper-aggressive pace is going to drain his stamina bar fast. Sunny totally agrees, quickly whipping his head around to scan the layout of the battlefield for an advantage. With his brain running at max capacity, the kid frantically looks for some clever tactic to use all this chaos to carry him to a win. His eyes instantly lock onto a super heavy cargo wagon parked right near the edge of a slope. He quickly figures out that if his own stats are too low to hurt the boss, he's just going to use the environment physics to do it. Flashing a massively confident, villain-level smirk, Sunny decides he's just going to let gravity do all the heavy lifting. The kid stealthily pushes through the snow toward the heavy wagon, waving for the other 2 prisoners to follow him if they actually plan on not dying tonight. The big dude asks the older guy if they're seriously about to trust their lives to a crazy teenager right now. But his buddy just shrugs, suggesting this might actually be that divine intervention they've been waiting for. Agreeing to trust the kid's crazy plan just one last time, the duo hits the deck. They start stealth crawling across the freezing dirt, following right behind Sunny into the wrecked campsite.